Imagine you're at your house in Fort Lauderdale, maybe it's Palm Beach. It's a quiet afternoon, suddenly there's a knock at your door. You take a look and you see two men in tactical vests. They identify themselves as local police, possibly ATF, and they say, "We have a record that you purchased 2 or more firearms recently. We're here to confirm that you still have them to keep track of your guns. Mind if we come in and take a quick look?" Well, it sounds like a reasonable request, right? You're a law-abiding Floridian. You've got nothing to hide, so you want to be the good guy. Well, stop right there. Because in Florida, opening that door and being helpful can turn into a nightmare fast. If you don't believe me, there's unfortunately too many stories of police encounters gone wrong. In 2024, body camera footage was released in the Roger Fortson case, where an officer used deadly force, killing the active deputy airman. This body camera became a statewide warning label for how dangerous door encounters can become, even when the person inside is lawfully in their own home. Now, it's scary. Knock on the door, homeowner inside. A lawfully owned gun is present, and a situation that escalates in seconds. But this very tragic story highlights the truth. Opening the door creates a huge risk. And today, I'm going to share 5 tips that demonstrate why cooperating with a gun inspection can land you in Florida prison and what you can say to protect yourself. I'm Attorney Adam, and in the state of Florida, we all know that your home is your castle. We also know that the Second Amendment is a big deal. We love our guns here in Florida, but there's a massive misconception that if you own certain regulated items like a suppressor, a short barrel rifle, or anything controlled under the National Firearms Act, you've somehow signed away your rights, and that is simply not true. Tip number 1, treat a knock and talk like an investigation, not a conversation. If police or ATF show up at your door asking to confirm that you still have firearms, well, this is not a casual request. It's a fishing expedition. And the moment you open the door, you've created a chance for them to look past you, observe into your home, and start building a case off whatever they claim is in plain view. Owning a gun, even an NFA item, does not mean that the government has an open door policy to your living room. You do not waive your Fourth Amendment rights just because you filled out this paperwork. But if you let them in voluntarily, then you're inviting an investigation in your house where anything they see, from a pill bottle to a suspicious plant, can become a problem under the plain view doctrine. So your starting point in Florida is very simple. You don't have to open the door just because somebody in a vest is coming on knocking. Tip number 2, never answer the door without asking the warrant question. And here's a trap that they like to use. Well, they say, listen, we can do this one of 2 ways. We can do it the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. Cops will tell you, if you show us now, it saves us the trouble of getting a warrant, because we're just going to have the whole town's patrol sitting outside your front door waiting for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours until we get that warrant. We're not going anywhere. So you tell me, sir, you want to do this the easy way, or you want to do it the hard way, right? That's what they're going to tell you. Understand this. If they had a warrant, they wouldn't be asking or trying to trap you in the first place. So if they show up at your door in Florida, here's your survival script. First, don't open the door. Talk through the door or a window. I know it's weird. We want to be cooperative and helpful people, especially if we don't think we're doing anything wrong. You got to do it. Second, ask the magic question. Do you have a warrant, officer? And if they say no, then this is what you say. I'm not inviting anyone inside. I don't consent to any searches. I'm going to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney. Short, sweet, simple. If they claim that they have a warrant, say, well, please show it to me. Have them hold it up to the window, slide it under the door if possible. Take the time to read what it actually authorizes them to do before you do anything. Now for the third tip, let's talk about the situation that happens more frequently. Outside the home, we're talking traffic stops. So tip number 3, during a traffic stop, your hands and your timing matter more than your intentions. So let's picture this. You're driving down I-95, you get pulled over for speeding, right? Happens all the time. Officer says, hey, are there any weapons in the vehicle? Now in Florida, you need to be extremely careful here. The moment you start reaching under your seat or into the glove box quickly, well, guess what? Now we have furtive movements. Ooh, fancy lawyer term there. Furtive movements. What does that mean? Right? They're going to say that here you are trying to hide something, trying to pull something out, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to use that to detain you and start searching you for officer safety. even when you try to do everything right, things can still go sideways. A recent Florida body camera traffic stop clip shows a Jacksonville driver who told these cops that he had a firearm, and during the disarming process, an officer accidentally fired the gun and shot him in the leg. He was cooperating. He disclosed. And it still turned into a bloody, panicked investigation. Look, I don't say this to scare you. It's kind of crazy, right? Very rare. But it's critical to make the point that traffic stops plus guns are high-risk moments where you need to move slowly, speak carefully, and follow a very tight script. To avoid escalation, these are the steps you need to follow. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't move them until you're instructed. Give them what is required, which is your Florida driver's license, your registration, your proof of insurance. If you are carrying a gun and you need to communicate that, do it calmly without making any sudden movements. Officer, I want to let you know that I have a legal firearm. It's located in my blank, right? My glove box, my purse, my holster, right? How would you like me to proceed? If they ask to search, say no thank you, okay? Officer, I don't consent to a search of my person or my vehicle. And once they give you a traffic ticket, just say, am I free to go or am I being detained? And if they won't let you go, just stop talking and say, no thank you. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I want my attorney. The Fourth Amendment, it's not just a piece of paper. It is a shield, but it only works when you use that shield, whether it's at your front door or the side of the road. Your words, and more importantly, your silence, are your best defenses. So let me finish the 5 tips I promised you, because this is also where people get hurt, legally and sometimes physically, by doing what feels polite. Tip number 4, understand what they can ask for versus what they can search. So if you own an NFA item, federal law says you're supposed to keep proof of registration and make it available if ATF requests it. Notice what that does not say. It does not say you have to open your door. It does not say you have to let them inside. It does not say that you have to hand them the safe combination or walk them room to room. So if an agent's asking, well, we want to see the suppressor. Well, the smarter move is credentials first, no entry, no wandering through your home. And if you choose to provide paperwork, you can provide paperwork without consenting to the search. And if we're talking about normal, non-NFA firearms, the idea that you have to prove that you still have them, it's not a thing that overrides your Fourth Amendment rights. Because here's what I want you to remember. A request becomes a search the second you say yes. And once you've consented, you don't control how deep that goes. Now for our 5th and final tip. Don't turn a simple interaction into a felony case with one bad sentence. And this is the part that gets people in Florida prison, and it happens 2 ways. 1, prohibited possession. If you're not legally allowed to have a firearm because of a felony record or another disqualifier, then of course the worst possible move you can make is inviting law enforcement into your house, into your car to prove you're fine. It's a quick way to get in the handcuffs. 2, obstruction and resistance. Look, people get emotional. They start arguing, start grabbing, they start slamming doors. You get into this pissing contest between you and the officers. You start telling them, you can't do that, right? You start pretending to be a lawyer on the side of the road, and maybe you're physically blocking them. So listen carefully. You can refuse consent without resisting. You can stay silent without being hostile. But if a cop gives a lawful command in the moment, like stepping out of the car, your fight's not there on the asphalt. Your fight's in court with your lawyer later. So that's why the script matters so much. At the door, your script is simple. I'm not opening the door. Do you have a warrant? If the answer is no, I don't consent to any search. I'm remaining silent. I want my attorney. If they say they do have a warrant, don't debate it through the door. Stay calm. Don't make sudden movements. And don't consent to anything beyond what the warrant actually says. And understand, in Florida, if they announce their authority and purpose, and they're refused entry, they can force their way in to execute the warrant. So your goal is not to win the argument at the door. Your goal is to not create any new facts, new situations that's going to make your issue worse. On the traffic stop, the script is just as tight. Hands on the wheel. Slow movements after instructions. Give them your driver's license, your registration, and your insurance. And if you're carrying concealed in Florida, have your identification ready, because Florida law requires you to display valid ID upon demand when you're actually carrying concealed. If the cop asks about weapons, don't reach, don't point, don't start narrating your life story. Just say, officer, there's a legal firearm in the vehicle. Here's where it's located. I keep my hands here on the steering wheel. How would you like me to proceed? If they ask to search, officer, I don't consent to any search of my person or my vehicle. And if the stop drags on, just say, am I free to go or am I being detained? At the moment you finally realize that you're not free to leave, just stop. Stop talking at all. And you're invoking your right to remain silent. I want my turn. So let me recap the 5 tips in plain English. 1, don't open the door for an inspection. 2, ask the warrant question, don't consent. 3, on traffic stops, slow hands, calm voice, no sudden movements. 4, paperwork is not permission. Showing proof is different than allowing a search. And 5, don't argue, don't resist, refuse consent verbally, and then let your lawyer fight it in court. Look, this is general information. It's not legal advice, and every case is different. But if you take nothing else from this video, just take this. The fastest way to lose your rights is to volunteer them. The fastest way to escalate a gun encounter is to move too fast and talk too much. If you're dealing with a gun charge, a search issue, or a situation where cops are trying to turn cooperation into probable cause, talk to a lawyer immediately before you explain anything, before you sign anything, and definitely before you consent to anything. Your rights are your only shield. Use them, and we'll see you in the next video.